In a forest in Poland, hundreds of pine trees bend at perfect right angles, and no one knows why. In South Africa, there's a tree so massive that 60 people once stood inside its hollow trunk. Across the world, living sculptures twist, spiral, and stretch in ways that seem to break nature's own rules. Welcome to Stellar Eureka. Today we're venturing into the extraordinary world of trees that refuse to grow the way they're supposed to, 15 living anomalies shaped by mystery, time, and sheer defiance of logic. These aren't your ordinary trees. Some evolved armor like medieval fortresses. Others burst with rainbow colors as if hand-painted. A few are survivors so ancient that they were already old when the pyramids were new. Every one of them rewrites what we think we know about life, growth, and design. Here are 15 trees with shapes so strange, so otherworldly, that they'll make you question whether you're still on Earth. In a small grove near Gryfino, Poland, 400 pine trees defy logic. Each trunk bends sharply at a 90-degree angle near its base, forming a distinctive J shape before growing straight upward again. Walking through the crooked forest feels like you've stumbled into a glitch in nature's code. Every tree bent in nearly the same direction, most leaning northward, while the surrounding forest grows perfectly normal. These Scots pines were planted around 1930, back when this land was still part of Germany's Pomeranian province. Evidence suggests the trees were deliberately bent when they were young saplings, possibly just inches tall, then allowed to reorient themselves upward, but no one knows why. Some theorists believe local farmers manipulated them to create naturally curved wood for furniture or boat building. Others suggest snowstorms or wartime damage. To date, it remains a mystery. These bends aren't random deformities, they are uniform, deliberate, and orchestrated. Someone had a plan for these trees, invested years in shaping them, and then vanished. The knowledge died with them, likely during World War II, when the German population was displaced. Today, the crooked forest stands as a protected natural monument, a beautiful riddle locked in wood and time. Yet, even a forest frozen in a mystery can't compete with a tree that seems to explode with life, one whose trunk blooms like fireworks and drops fruit the size of cannonballs. What tree grows flowers directly from its trunk and produces fruits that could be mistaken for medieval ammunition? The cannonball tree earns its explosive name from the massive spherical fruits that dangle from thick vines sprouting straight from the bark, a phenomenon called cauliflory. These woody orbs can weigh up to 15 pounds each and crash to the ground with startling force when ripe, creating a sound like distant artillery. But before the cannonballs appear, the tree stages one of nature's most remarkable floral displays. Waxy, intricate flowers bloom in shades of orange, pink, and red directly on the trunk and major branches. Each flower features hundreds of stamens forming a complex hood structure that guides specific pollinators, primarily carpenter bees, toward the nectar. At night, these flowers release a scent that ranges from sweetly pleasant to downright putrid, depending on who you ask. Sacred throughout South Asia, cannonball trees often grow in temple courtyards where Buddhists and Hindus revere them. The unusual flowering pattern and explosive fruits carry symbolic meaning about life's unpredictability. Modern horticulturists cultivate them in tropical botanical gardens, though visitors are warned to stay clear of the drop zone. Imagine a tree wearing a suit of armor made entirely of medieval spikes. The silk floss tree's trunk bristles with thick, conical thorns that make it look like something designed to repel invaders, which is precisely its evolutionary purpose. These intimidating spikes protect the tree from animals during its vulnerable juvenile years, though mature ones often shed them as they age, revealing smooth, greenish bark beneath. Native to South American rainforest, this tree transforms dramatically with the seasons. During spring and summer, it explodes into a spectacular display of pink, white, or magenta flowers that resemble exotic orchids. Each bloom stretches 5 to 6 inches across, attracting hummingbirds and butterflies. Then, as autumn arrives, the tree produces football-sized seed pods that split open to release fluffy, silky fibers that drift on the wind like snowflakes. Those silk fibers once filled life jackets and pillows before synthetic materials replaced them. Indigenous peoples still harvest them for insulation and stuffing. The tree's wood remains lightweight yet strong, traditionally carved into canoes. Today, urban landscapers worldwide plant silk floss trees for their stunning seasonal displays, though they warn pedestrians to admire from a safe distance. Nature's most vibrant canvas isn't found in a museum. It grows wild in tropical rainforest. The rainbow eucalyptus doesn't just have colorful bark, it creates a constantly shifting masterpiece. As pouches of outer bark peel away throughout the year, they reveal bright green inner bark underneath. This newly exposed surface then ages through a spectacular color progression. Lime green transitions to blue, then purple, orange, and finally maroon before the cycle begins again. This is not only decorative, but also functional. Unlike most eucalyptus species adapted to dry climates, the rainbow eucalyptus thrives in high rainfall regions of the Philippines, Indonesia, and Papua New Guinea. The continuous bark shedding prevents mosses, lichens, and epiphytes from establishing themselves, which could suffocate the trunk in such humid conditions. Each tree becomes a unique patchwork because different sections shed at different times. These trees are among the few eucalyptus species that grow naturally outside Australia, and they can reach staggering heights of over 200 feet in their native habitat. The timber industry values them for pulpwood production, though many argue their aesthetic value far surpasses their commercial use. Tropical gardeners worldwide now cultivate them purely for their mesmerizing appearance. In the rainforest, survival means standing out with color. In the desert, it means bending the rules of what a tree can even look like. Rising from the Baja California desert like a giant's upturned carrot, the boojum tree looks as if it escaped from a Dr. Seuss book and took root in the real world. Its tall, tapering trunk stretches up to 60 feet, covered in spindly branches that jut out horizontally like pipe cleaners stuck into a pole. Many twist and curl as they grow, giving each tree a shape so peculiar it seems to mock gravity itself. Its name comes straight out of nonsense literature. British explorer Godfrey Sykes, amused by its absurd appearance, named it after a creature from Lewis Carroll's The Hunting of the Snark. The indigenous Seri people have a far more grounded name, Sirio, meaning candle in Spanish, a poetic nod to its flickering silhouette against the horizon. But behind its whimsy lies a marvel of adaptation. The boojum is a true desert survivor, shedding its tiny leaves during droughts and photosynthesizing through its green bark instead. It's a relative of the ocotillo, but evolved this bizarre form in isolation, sculpted by centuries of wind, heat, and scarcity. Growing just inches per year, some boojums are thought to be several centuries old. Their rarity and slow pace make them vulnerable to climate shifts and overcollection, so conservationists now guard the few places on Earth where they still thrive, patches of desert where time itself seems to move as slowly as they do. Twisted desert spires may look chaotic, but they are nothing compared to what happens when nature designs with engineering precision. Imagine a tree so perfectly symmetrical it looks engineered in the laboratory, its branches radiating in precise whorls like the tiers of an elaborate pagoda. The monkey puzzle tree creates this architectural wonder naturally, each branch covered in scales so tough and sharp-edged that monkeys allegedly can't climb them, though the tree's native Chilean forest contain no monkeys at all. The name came from an English garden visitor who remarked it would puzzle a monkey to climb. These living fossils evolved during the Mesozoic era, when dinosaurs roamed, and they've changed little since. Each scale-like leaf is actually a modified branch that can live for 10 to 15 years, creating a dense reptilian armor. The trees grow slowly, but in their native Andes, they can reach over 100 feet tall and live for more than 1,000 years. They are dioecious, meaning individual trees are either male or female, producing separate cones that can weigh up to 10 pounds. The indigenous Poeche people have harvested the nutritious seeds for centuries, building their culture and cuisine around these trees. Overlogging during the 19th and 20th centuries decimated wild populations, but strict protection now preserves remaining forest. Victorian gardeners obsessed over them as status symbols, planting trees that still grace European estates today. The Sunland baobab was one of Africa's most legendary trees because it's so big that its trunk houses a fully functioning bar. Its hollow trunk measured more than 100 feet around and enclosed 2 interconnected cavities, natural chambers so spacious that they could accommodate more than 60 people. Baobabs naturally hollow out after 1,000 years, creating vast interior spaces as the tree continues to grow outward. In 1993, the owners of Sunland Farm established a bar and wine cellar inside, clearing centuries of composted material to reveal a floor about 3 feet below ground level. Evidence of Bushmen and Voortrekker visitors emerged alongside charred remains of fire dating back to 1650 AD. This was a landmark, a shelter, a gathering place across centuries. Sadly, the story has a bittersweet ending. A third of the Sunland baobab fell in August 2016, and the rest collapsed in April 2017. It's part of a larger crisis. Many of Africa's oldest and largest baobabs have been dying, likely due to climate change. But during its life, this tree was a testament to nature's architectural genius, a living monument that hosted countless travelers, each leaving their mark in a space carved by time itself. On the same alien island that hosts the dragonblood tree grows another botanical marvel that looks like it was sculpted by a surrealist artist. The Socotra desert rose forms a swollen bulbous trunk that tapers upward into stubby, twisted branches, creating shapes that resemble everything from giant potatoes to abstract sculptures. This extraordinary form is an adaptation called pachycauli, where the trunk swells to store water in one of Earth's harshest environments. During brief flowering periods, this seemingly lifeless lump burst into shocking displays of pink and white flowers, each bloom delicate and intricate against the grotesque boulder-like trunk. The contrast is so striking that it's hard to believe the flowers and trunk belong to the same organism. The entire plant may stand only a few feet tall, but can be centuries old, growing with glacial patience in Socotra's rocky, wind-swept plateaus. The sap is highly toxic, traditionally used by the Socotri people to poison arrows and fishing spears. Despite this danger, or perhaps because of it, horticulturists worldwide cultivate miniaturized versions, though they rarely achieve the wild character of their island ancestors. Climate change threatens these endemic wonders as changing rainfall patterns disrupt their delicate life cycles. In 1994, a ranger rappelling into a remote Australian canyon made one of botany's greatest discoveries, a grove of trees completely unknown to science. After discovering the wollemi pine, scientists realized its lineage stretches back over 90 million years to the age of dinosaurs. Its unusual bubbly bark resembles dark chocolate coating, while its prehistoric fronds and strange growth patterns mark it as a survivor from an ancient world. Fewer than 100 mature trees exist in the wild, hidden in a secret location disclosed to only a handful of researchers. The species produces both male and female cones on the same tree, a rarity among conifers. Its bark regenerates in a unique bubbling pattern as it ages, creating a texture found nowhere else in the plant kingdom. Scientists had classified it based solely on fossil records before realizing some were existing in extreme remoteness all along. Conservation programs now cultivate and distribute wollemi pines worldwide as part of an official recovery strategy. Early in the program, royalties from commercial sales helped fund research and protection of the few wild trees in Wollemi National Park. Although that financial link has since changed, global cultivation still reduces pressure from illegal collection and serves as a genetic safeguard for the species. They have become living symbols of hope, proof that even in our explored world, ancient mysteries still await discovery. While fewer than 100 wollemi pines hide in secret Australian canyons, across the Indian Ocean, millions of acacias shape an entire continent's identity. Picture the iconic African savanna, golden grasslands stretching endlessly beneath scattered trees whose flat-topped crowns float like green tables against blazing blue sky. The umbrella thorn acacia creates this quintessential silhouette, growing its branches in a distinctive spreading crown that provides maximum shade with minimum trunk height. Browse lines, clearly visible on many acacias, show exactly how high giraffes can reach, as if the trees were trimmed with laser precision. The flat-top shape emerges because acacias grow most vigorously just above the browsing zone, creating natural hedges at giraffe mouth height. But height isn't their only protection. Savage thorns, some straight as needles and others hooked like claws, ornament every branch. Many species even recruit ant armies, providing hollow thorns as homes for colonies that aggressively attack any animal disturbing their host tree. The relationship between acacias and Africa's megafauna shapes entire ecosystems. Seeds germinate after passing through the elephant digestive system, ensuring distribution and scarification. Giraffes have evolved specially adapted tongues and digestive systems to handle the thorns and toxic tannins. Acacia wood provides fuel and building materials for countless communities, while the gum arabic harvested from certain species thickens everything from soft drinks to watercolors. The Mojave Desert signature silhouette stands twisted and gesturing like a prophet frozen mid-sermon. The Joshua tree grows in seemingly random, chaotic forms, each unique in its contortions and branching angles. Mormon settlers crossing the desert in the 1800s thought the tree's upraised branches resembled the biblical Joshua, pointing the way to the Promised Land, bestowing a sacred name on this otherworldly plant. Technically not a tree, but a giant yucca, it creates its bizarre branching pattern in response to flower damage. The plant grows as a single stem until it blooms, and flowering damages the growing tip, forcing the plant to sprout new branches. The more it flowers over decades or centuries, the more twisted and multi-armed it becomes. Only one insect, the yucca moth, can pollinate its flowers, creating one of nature's most specialized partnerships. Without the moth, no seeds form. Without the plant, the moth's larvae have no food. These trees grow steadily, but with growth rates slowing dramatically with age. Many standing today were seedlings when Spanish explorers first mapped California. Climate change now pushes the species toward extinction as their narrow temperature range shifts beyond their limited dispersal ability. Joshua Tree National Park protects these icons, but scientists warn that by 2100, the park may no longer contain suitable habitat for its namesake species. In tropical rainforest around the world, there's a tree that doesn't start its life in the soil. It begins in the canopy, wrapped around another tree like a slow-motion predator. The strangler fig is exactly what it sounds like, a tree that literally strangles its host to death. But the way it does this is both brutal and beautiful. It all starts with a bird. A seed gets deposited high up in the branches of a host tree, usually in bird droppings. The fig germinates in the air, sending roots downward like pale, grasping fingers. These roots snake along the trunk, fusing as they descend toward the ground. Over years, sometimes decades, depending on the host size and health, they thicken and tighten, forming a latticework cage around the victim. Meanwhile, the fig's canopy grows upward, stealing sunlight. Eventually, the host tree dies, starved and squeezed into submission. What remains is a hollow cathedral of roots. Here's the twist. That hollow center becomes a refuge where birds nest and mammals shelter. The strangler fig, despite its sinister origins, transforms into one of the most important trees in the rainforest ecosystem. Some of these structures stand over 150 feet tall and can live for centuries. They're architectural wonders built on death, nature's reminder that survival isn't always pretty, but it's always purposeful. The strangler fig kills with patience, as we have seen, wrapping its victim in a slow embrace. But in Namibia's deserts, trees survive by growing with mathematical precision instead. Rising from Namibia's harsh deserts stands what appears to be a giant succulent trying to impersonate a tree. The quiver tree, technically a massive aloe, grows thick branches that fork repeatedly in perfect symmetry, each division creating that characteristic branching pattern mathematicians call dichotomous. The result is a sculptural form that looks deliberate and planned, crowned with rosettes of spiky blue-green leaves that catch and channel precious rainfall. The San people, native to southern Africa, hollowed out the fibrous branches to create quivers for their arrows, giving this distinctive plant its common name. The pale yellow bark peels in large flakes, revealing smooth surfaces underneath that reflect rather than absorb the desert's punishing heat. During winter, the trees burst into brilliant yellow flower clusters that attract sunbirds seeking nectar, creating splashes of color against otherwise barren landscapes. These trees have become climate change indicators in Namibia. Scientists document northward migrations and die-offs at historical southern ranges as temperature patterns shift. Some stand for over 300 years, making them living archives of desert conditions. Their strange sculptural forms have made them icons of Namibian identity, appearing on currency and tourist posters, symbols of resilience in one of Earth's most challenging environments. The kapok tree dominates rainforest canopies across the tropics, its umbrella-shaped crown emerging above neighboring trees at heights exceeding 200 feet. These giants are among the tallest trees in the Americas, creating the emergent layer that defines rainforest structure. The trunk itself is an otherworldly sight, gray-brown bark studded with large conical thorns jutting outward at aggressive angles, remnants of protection needing during vulnerable youth. As the tree matures and grows beyond most animals' reach, smooth bark often replaces the thorns on the upper sections. During the dry season, kapok trees drop their leaves and explode into flowers that open at night, offering nectar to bats, whose echolocation guides them through darkness to these feeding stations. Those flowers produce pods filled with a silky, water-resistant fiber called kapok, so light and buoyant that it once filled life jackets and pillows worldwide. Synthetic materials have largely replaced it commercially, but indigenous peoples still harvest it for traditional uses. The trees hold sacred significance across cultures, considered homes to spirits in West African and Mayan traditions. Their emergent position and enormous buttresses make them natural landmarks, wayfinding beacons in otherwise uniform forest. The kapok towers above the rainforest, dominating through sheer size and height. But our final tree has mastered something far more impressive than stature. It has mastered time itself. High in California's White Mountains stands Methuselah, a gnarled, twisted sculpture of wood that has witnessed over 4,850 years of human history. The bristlecone pine doesn't grow tall or wide. Instead, it grows old, older than the pyramids, older than writing, older than any other non-clonal organism on Earth. These trees don't look merely ancient. They look dead, with more weathered deadwood than living tissue, twisted into fantastical shapes by millennia of wind, ice, and lightning. But that dead appearance is a deceptive strategy. Bristlecones grow in strips, maintaining only narrow bands of living bark and cambium necessary to supply their few remaining branches. The dense, resinous deadwood doesn't rot even in extreme conditions, creating sculptural forms that document centuries of climate in their growth rings. These trees exist at the absolute limit of where trees can survive, over 10,000 feet elevation, where the growing season lasts just 6 weeks and temperatures regularly plummet below freezing. Their extremely slow growth creates wood so dense that insects and fungi cannot penetrate it. Scientists study their growth rings as precise climate records stretching back millennia, providing data unavailable from any other source. The oldest known living bristlecone is over 4,850 years old, with some dead bristlecone trees providing climate data spanning over 9,000 years. These living time capsules remind us that survival isn't always about being the biggest, fastest, or strongest. Sometimes, endurance alone is enough. 15 strange trees. 15 mysteries that remind us that even in our satellite-mapped, over-photographed world, genuine wonders still exist. You don't need to travel to distant planets or dive into ocean trenches. Sometimes you just need to look up at the right tree and realize you're standing before something extraordinary, something that grew into a shape so strange, so unexpected, so perfectly impossible that it stops you cold and makes you remember why exploration still matters. The world is stranger and more beautiful than we give it credit for. These 15 trees are proof. Which of these extraordinary trees would you most want to see in person? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible discoveries from our natural world. This is Stella Eureka, signing off.